Hello chess friends, welcome back to the World Championship match from 1960 between Tal and Botvinnik. Here we have the game from the round 7 and that was the Caro-Kann, so it starts with e4, c6, d4, d5 and knight c3, this is the main line, d takes, knight takes and bishop f5, knight to g3, bishop to g6. After that, the main line goes with an h4 or with a knight f3. That is the most playable lines. But here, Tal played knight from 1 to e2, threat to go with the knight on f4 and attack the bishop. So knight d7 was played, h4, h6, and knight to f4. After that, bishop goes back to h7, bishop to c4, and we have e5. So that is very active response from the Botvinnik. He wanted to open the center, and there was a solution for white to take it with the pawn. So let's see that line. If the pawn takes, then knight can take on the e5, and white will go, for example, with the queen e2, and after that queen e7, and here we have castles on the both sides. So this position is pretty equal. But after e5, here Tal play immediately queen to e2. After that, queen e7 was played, and d takes e5, queen takes e5, and then bishop to e3. So here he sacrificed the pawn on the b2, but that's a little trick. So if the queen takes, it's a discovered check with the bishop d4, it's a check to king, and this queen is hanging. So after bishop e3, bishop c5 is played, and bishop takes c5, queen takes e2 with the check, so king takes e2, and knight takes c5. So we are in some kind of the endgame because there's no queens on the board. And one thing is sure that white cannot make the castles, so he'll probably put the rooks on the open files, and after that move the king from the e or d file, so he can go with his king back on f1 or f3, trying to play active. Let's see, here he goes with the rook to e1. That is the right way to continue this game because he needs a lot of space for his rooks, and that's if we follow the rules from the endgame that the rook needs space and want to control open files, so that is the good move. Knight f6 was played, and after that b4 to kick out the knight from the c5 square, knight c d7, and king f1, it's a check from the rook, king goes to f8, and bishop to b3 to defend the pawn on the c2 because there was a threat from the bishop on h7 which attacks pawn on c2, and g5. So black needs to do something because this rook on the h8 square is locked, so he wants to open the file and try to include the rook in the game, and that's the reason why he played g5. So h takes, and knight to h3 still attack the pawn on g5. So rook goes to g8 and rook ed1. This is one not typical move. So a5, and after that b takes. So rook takes a5, and rook goes to d6. Idea is basically to make a double rooks. And after king e7, rook ad1, and rook e5 was played. So here we have one interesting move by Tal. That's the move knight to h5. So he sacrificed that knight, but black is unable to take it. So if he takes, it's completely lost position because rook takes d7, it's a check, and the pawn is hanging on the square f7. So he can continue with something like, let's see, king to f8, and after that rook takes. White will finish this game very easily after that. So after knight h5, here we have move bishop to g6, which attacks the knight. And here Tal decided to make this game much more complicated. So he sacrificed the rook on square d7, and after knight takes d7 he sacrificed another rook, and when the king takes, then knight goes to f6. It's a double attack. King it's a check to king, and the rook on g8 square is hanging. So king d6 was played, and after that knight takes on g8. Basically it's a good trade for white because he's playing with the two knights against the rook. But let's see what the black can do in this endgame. So here we have rook to c5, knight to h6 attacks the pawn, and f6 was played. After that, knight to g4, once again make pressure on f pawn, and bishop takes c2, knight takes f6, and bishop takes b3. So now Tal can choose between two moves: a takes b3 or knight give a check on e4 square. So let's see the line. If the knight give a check on e4, it's a check and the rook is under attack. So king d5, that's forced. Knight takes, and after that black will not take that immediately because white will take the bishop on the b3. It will be up for a piece. So first give a check on this, play that move in between, give a check on the c4 after king goes to e1, then king takes c5, and after knight takes to g5, bishop takes a2, and this is probably draw game. So after bishop takes b3, Tal play a takes b3, and after rook b5, knight takes on g5. Once again, black is unable to take the knight on the g5 because there is a check with the knight on e4, and rook is hanging. So rook takes b3, and here we have a nice endgame position. It's a two knight against the rook. So we have f4, rook to b1, it's a check, king goes up to e2, rook b2 check, king goes to f3, rook to b3 check, and king goes to g4. So the way of the king from the f1 square to or e2 and f3 to g4 is very good because now he can support his pawns on the f4 and the g2 square. So he'll support them and try to promote the queen. So here we have rook to b2. He's attacking pawn on g2. So g3 was played, and after that it's time for black to do something on the queen side with his connected pawns on c6 and b5. So knight from f to e4, give a check, and king goes to d5. After that f5 was played, and b4. One thing is very good for white, and that is the square f2. He's covering that square with the knight, so black is unable to go with the rook on f2 and cover the pawn. So he played f6, and rook a2, trying to go from behind, and f7. After that the rook goes to a8, and knight h7, covering the promoting square. So in the next move he can promote, but here is a b3 move, which also threat to promote. So knight d2 first, and after b2, king goes to f3, king d4, king to e2, and then c5. Here we have f8 queen, and then rook takes, knight takes, and c4. So idea for white is to cover these two pawns and try to promote his own from g3, because if the black find a way how to catch this pawn on the g3 square, that will be a draw because the white cannot give a mate just with two knights. So knight e6 was played, king goes to d5, and after knight f4, king d4, and knight to b1. In this position Botvinnik resigned because white is quick enough to catch the pawns on the queen side, this one on b2 and this one. So he'll move the king or d1 to c2 square, or using d2 square, doesn't matter. And after that he can support his own pawn on the g file and promote on the g8 square. So that was the game from the round 7. I hope you enjoyed this video, and see you in the next game. Bye bye.